All right. Here we are. Hello and welcome to New Orleans Poetry Festival's International Night. Thank you all so much for being here. It's a healthy group of poets out here tonight. I love seeing y'all's faces. In partnership with the Literary Translation Institute of Korea, this event will feature a roundtable and performance by Korean poets, translators, and publishers. This evening begins with a roundtable discussion among the participants and culminates with a bilingual reading by the poets and their translators. Before we begin the panel, I'll give a couple overviews of these stellar poets' accolades, so bear with me while I roll through all these beautiful bios they have here. Ha Jae-yeon is Assistant Professor of Creative Writing at Korea University. She received a PhD in Modern Korean Literature from Korea University for her research in 1930s Korean poetry. She also was the recipient of the 3rd Yeongnam newspaper Kusang Literature Prize. She is the author of the poetry collection Radio Days in 2006, Like All the Beaches in the World in 2012, and Universal Hello in 2019. She is also the author of the research books Adventures of Modern Poetry and Moving Chosun Language in 2012, The Imagination of Literature and the Action of Poetry in 2022, Infinite Love of Paradox in 2022, and the collection of essays To the Dark and Light by the Coming of Me in 2023. English translations of her poems have appeared in poems of Hwang Yuan, Ha Jae-yeon, and Xiao Dae-kyung, edited and introduced by Jake Levine from Vagabond Press in 2020. In addition, the poetry collection Radio Days was published in English, translated by Soo-yeon Bae from Black Ocean Press in 2023. After the pandemic started, she began a series of poems that she has been publishing called Undead and the Origin of the Species. The other wonderful poet, thank you so much for being here, is Hwang Yuan. He is a poet and translator. Great, right, give it up for him. He is the author of 4 collections of poetry, White Deer Lake, Supernatural 3D Printing, This Crown Really Suits Me, and Everything in the World Maximized. He translates poetry and novels from English to Korean. Among them are The Lyrics by Bob Dylan, Moby Dick by Herman Melville, Glass, Irony, and God by someone named Ann Carson, Walt Whitman, William Carlos Williams, Diane Seuss, and Cormac McCarthy. He does it all. Amazing, he's amazing. Jake Levine in the middle over here is an assistant professor of creative writing at Keimyung University. He has written and translated or co-translated over a dozen books, including Kim Yi-dum's Hysteria from Action Books in 2019, which was the first book to be awarded both the National Translation Award and the Lucian Strick Prize. He is a former Fulbright Fellow to Lithuania in 2010, a recipient of the Korean Government Scholarship. He served as an assistant editor at Acta Koreana, as poetry editor at Sport Press, as the managing editor and editor-in-chief at Sonora Review, and currently edits the award-winning contemporary Korean poetry series Moon Country at Black Ocean. And you'll see some of those books over there on that table, which will be for sale after the event tonight. His first full-length book of poetry, The Imagined Country, came out with Tolson Books in 2023. But I believe you are sold out of that one, right? Sold out.
Yeah.
Soo-yeon Bae is a poet and translator from South Korea. She received her MFA from Arizona State University and is currently a PhD candidate in comparative literature at Arizona State University. She is the author of the poetry book Truce Country from iWare Publishing in 2019, co-translator of Kim Hayasoon's A Drink of Red Mirror from Action Books in 2019, and translator of Ha Jae-yeon's Radio Days, Black Ocean Press, 2023. Jannika Stuckey is a poet, performer, and practicing mystic. He is the founding editor of the award-winning press Black Ocean and the author of 4 poetry collections, including Ascend, Ascend from Third Man Books in 2019, which was released as a live performance with cellist Lori Goldston by New Rod Recordings in May 2023. His work has been profiled in The Believer, Vice, and Bomb magazine. He incorporates esoteric and occult influences to develop a trance poetics, which he has taught or performed in over 60 cities around the world. Find him at janikastuckey.com or on Instagram at Janika_Stuckey. Janika will be moderating tonight's roundtable titled Department of Lost and Found. Here is a short description of what's going to happen here in just a moment. As the character in the Jim Jarmusch film, Patterson says, reading poetry in translation is like taking a shower with a raincoat on. Likewise, Robert Frost said, poetry is what gets lost in translation. Often framed in the narrow terms of what is lost, translation is also a process where creative possibilities emerge in the chasm between languages, where new meanings and breakthroughs are often found, where authors and their work are discovered by readers in new contexts, speaking in non-native tongues. These poets and translators working between Korean and English will discuss their experiences of the dynamic ways in which translation yields creative discoveries between a people's language and one's personal poetics, while simultaneously navigating the challenges that are innate to the transformative art. So I will turn it over to them. Please give them a round of applause for coming out.
So, we will open this panel by, even though it's a translation panel, I will read a poem in English that is not in translation.
Turn on the mic. It's on.
I will talk louder. Okay. And I'll just read it and then explain it. Oh, and this is a poem by me. Our land. When you immigrate to our land, you must learn our language. We do not say my. My parents do not exist, nor my husband, my children, my house, my family, my country. We are one people. Therefore, you must tell me about our mother's health, and I'll reply with our mother's new doctor. Together, we'll manage the mathematical business of marrying our son and our daughter. Will our family buy them a new house in our neighborhood? Yes. We'll tell our grandchildren our folktales. Oh, the tiger is coming down the mountain to carry away our baby by the neck. Oh, our military keeps us safe from communism. Oh, our brother has died shamefully, so we erase him. When you replace your foreign clothes with better ones, you won't notice how our tongues mimic the shapes of our alphabet. As long as we give ourselves away, we have nothing to fear. I wanted to read this poem because it is in some ways about translation. So it contains several jokes about the Korean language. So the title, Our Land, which is one word, is a direct translation of the common Korean term that we use for Korea, 우리나라, which is literally our land. And Korea also has this quirk where we often do use the pronoun our instead of my. So if I were talking about my mother, I would say our mother, even though I'm an only child. And this is a very common thing we do. And in this poem, I use that almost as like a mythical trait, and I simply refuse to explain in the poem or in a footnote that this is what's going on. And if you are not a Korean speaker, you will just think it's a quirky poem and you won't realize that I'm making this linguistic joke. And I have been thinking about how in my own poetry, I do not feel the need to explain any of these things. But when I am translating and I realize that there is a cultural reference that people who perhaps do not read Korean will not understand, I feel almost compelled to explain things to the reader and to insert maybe footnotes that were not there before. So this, I suppose, is one of the dilemmas that translators have. I want you to understand the poem as well as I understand it as a Korean speaker, but that will never happen really, so it almost seems pointless for me to try to explain, and yet I still want to explain. So this is something that I think about a lot.
I just want to say I'm a member of the bank Woryunhaeng, which is our bank in Korea. And every time I go there, I'm like, is it really my bank?
There we go. So I think we wanted to open with that poem because we thought it would do a good job framing the discussion a little bit. And we wanted to also invite two of our poets up here to talk about how they feel about their work in translation. And then I'm gonna lead a discussion, some questions. We'll see if we have time to field some questions from the audience too. We wanted to focus primarily on Korean poetry and translation, but obviously the nature of the discussion could expand to encompass other sort of general philosophical discussions around translation and the sort of aesthetic nature of it as an art in general. But first, we'd like to hand it over to some of our writers whose work is in translation.
Hello, thank you for having us. In my opinion, translation, especially translation of poetry, is more like an adventure. Sometimes translation exceeds the original, and sometimes translation falls short of the original. There is something missing in translation, but some surplus, of course, here too. There's a tension between what's left and what's gone. I love the tension because it is very similar to poetry. Sometimes poetry exceeds my experiences and reality. And sometimes poetry falls short of my experiences and reality. But these exist and lengthiness, yeah, and length make poetry more possible, creates poetic possibilities. I believe this is the unknown possibility of poetry and translation.
All I can say is basically anything about my experience with translation. Okay, firstly, it's so nice to be here in America. I translated, as you heard, lots of American great literatures, but I've never been here before. It's my very first time here. Thank you. Thank you for your warm welcome. I'm so, it feels so weird to be here. Anyway, it's about 10 years ago, I needed some translation for my residency. I went to India residency near Chennai, so I needed to translate some of my poems. And at that time, I didn't know any translators, so somehow I got to know Jake Levin, introduced by my friend. So I sent him an email, so could you do this for me? I'm blah blah blah, someone else, someone. And he didn't answer me, like in 1 week. So I was like, I was in a hurry, kind of hurry, so I was like, this guy's might, he's not interested, so I sent him an email again, dude, if you don't want to do this, I'll find another translator, it's cool, so goodbye. I'll find another translator. He just sent me emails right after that, so we have to know each other, and on the first day we met, we talked about poetry, and at the end of the meal we started to drink, and he was like, wow, we are poets, and why we just keep talking about poetry and not drinking? We should drink. So Yeah, anyway, that's how I got to know him, and that's how I got to be here, you know, after 10 years of that email. Yeah. Oh, by the way, so he translated 2 of my long poems. First one is called Night of the Centipede, and second one is called Everything in the World Maximized. And in Korea, Everything in the World Maximized is way much more popular than the Centipede one. And the Centipede poem is not that popular at all. Some people told me that it's gross, you know. And they're like, you know, even my editor who edited it was right, you know. She didn't write Centipede at all, so she had to do it. And she didn't know anything about Centipede. So she tried to change some of my sentences, but you know, I was like, oh, that's not it. Because the egg of Centipede, you know, they don't break the egg to come out of the egg, you know, it just looks like egg, and it transforms into a centipede. Things like that kind of information. The editor tried to change that. So I was like, no, that's not centipede. Centipede's not like that. Anyway, so it's not popular at all in Korea, but when I read it in India, many writers, you know, really liked it. And you know, they were like, wow, that's really something. And I've never read that kind of poem. But you know, the popular one in Korea, Everything in the World Maximized, they were like, it's a poem about train. I don't think it's too weird, you know. Yeah, so they like Centipede one more. So I was like, wow. When everything changes, the atmosphere, audience, and culture, it changes. The whole poem, you know, the reaction to the poems, it all changes. It's like you watch Korean movies and you think it's very new, right? But as Korean, sometimes it's not that wrong. It's not that new. So I found out that when Korean movies won awards, I was like, they're watching something else. Because it crossed the river, oceans, you know, everything changes. Even though we don't change nothing, it just changes. It's a magic of translation, I guess. So did I talk too much? Should I stop here? Yeah. Anyway, my poem. I got lots of inspiration from music and dance, and you know. And Jake Levine is just like that kind of guy. So he understands, he feels me every time. So the funny thing was that I wrote the Centipede poem while listening to Massive Attack. And Jake Levine translated it while listening to Massive Attack. Because we both love him, so yeah, I'm so lucky. Thank you.
So I have a number of questions, and I'm thinking about where to start. I was going to start with talking about maybe some of the nuances of translating back and forth between Korean and English, which I do want to get to. But I was really struck by the first 2 statements and the resonance there about a sort of tension or ambivalence being pulled in 2 different directions, both in wanting to explain, but then restraining yourself, and sort of the tension of context and understanding and what you allow to be lost in translation versus what you retain. And then, yeah, just the tension in word choice and what we lose there. And it made me think of this fantasy novel, Babel, which came out last year, where the whole conceit of the magic in the novel is based around translation, and they will write the same word in 2 different languages on 2 ends of a silver bar, and what gets lost over centuries and continents and cultures between those 2 words is what manifests the magical effect of the bar. And when you were talking about that, it made me think of that novel, and I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit any of you, to that tension in the act of translation, whether you're working with a translator on your own work, whether you are translating someone else's work, and there's really almost like miniature associative leaps that Robert Bly talks about in Leaping Poetry, and how you're making these choices almost with every word sometimes in a line when it comes to poetry.
I read that book, Babel. That's a great book, if anybody hasn't read that book, by R.F. Kuang. Super good. I think it was really interesting to listen to Sue's poem at the beginning, because this idea of Uri or our home, like the way that it resonates within the English language, but also like I understand like when I'm in Korea, like Uri, when people say Uri Ono or Uri Umshik, like it's Koreans referring to like our language or our food, and it doesn't matter. Even though I've lived in Korea for 12 years, a long time, like I always think I don't say Uri Umshik or Uri Ono. I don't say like our language or our food. So I'm like, and then I often wonder like, what is my food and what is my language? And also as somebody who has lived abroad for that long, every time I come back to America, people have all this new like slang and shit, and I'm like, I don't know if I speak English anymore either. And so I think also like about what Yuan was talking about with like crossing, when something crosses borders between countries or crosses the ocean, like there's a kind of physical transformation that happens with the cultural product. And so, and the way that it's received is not necessarily something that we can predict. And so a lot of books, or the way that we manifest a certain poem in a certain way, we can't really predict the way that the reader will interpret our translations. And so you kind of have to go like with your gut on like what will work and what doesn't work.
I'm not sure if what I'm about to say is going to answer the question at all, but here we go. So there's so much nuance that is lost in translation, but I also find that we have to insert things in order for it to be sensible English, and that bothers me, but it's also unavoidable. Like in Korean, if we very often don't use pronouns in places where English must use pronouns. I'm teaching Korean 101 right now, so I'm very aware of this problem. In Korean, if you were having a conversation like, hello, how are you? What is your name? What is your age? In Korean, you would not use pronouns at all in that exchange. And I can see how my American students want to start every sentence with I, and I have to tell them, well, it's not grammatically wrong, but it's very weird. Like, I can't explain to you how unnatural that is. So in, say, a Korean poem that is talking about the beloved, in an English poem, perhaps you don't know the gender of the speaker, but you have to know the gender of the beloved because you have to talk about his hair or her eyes or whatever. But in Korean, you probably would not do that. So there are times when I read a Korean poem, I feel like I understood it, but then when I sit down to translate it, I realize I don't know the genders of anybody involved, but to make it English, I have to just like pretend and just come up with the gender, and I really dislike having to do that. I want to preserve that ambiguity for the English reader also, but it's impossible. So in this situation, I might contact the poet if they happen to be alive and ask like, who is this? But if they're dead, you really do have to take a guess. And yeah, I feel like it gives me a weird power that I actually don't wish to have.
I think I wanted to add also that like poets generally write against the language that they're writing in. And so oftentimes like a big problem as a translator is you have to identify how a poet is using the language in a way. So like I would say like Hwang Yuan writes his poems in the language invented by Hwang Yuan, and Ha Jae-yeon writes her poems in the language invented by Ha Jae-yeon. And so the other day, like when we first got here, he bought some banana chips. We're looking at the ingredients of the banana chips, and like to our surprise, in the banana chips, which are just bananas, is also banana flavoring. So I feel like translation is kind of like this. You got the banana, it becomes a banana chip, and then you got Hwang Yuan's poem in Korean, and then I take it to English, and I have to identify a little bit of Hwang Yuan flavoring. Like if the poem was not Hwang Yuan enough, I gotta put a little bit more in there. I'm like, oh, it's a little bit too much Hwang Yuan now. I gotta take a little bit out until it's just right.
That's actually a good segue into one of the other questions I wanted to ask, which is about the translator's voice in the work. And both of you just sort of talked a little bit about that. When you have the benefit of collaborating with the poet that you're translating, maybe that helps you make some decisions and remove yourself, your own voice from the work a little bit because you have an opportunity there. But nonetheless, you do have to insert yourself at times if you are the authority on the language you're translating into in this collaboration. And I'm wondering if any of you would like to talk a little bit more about those choices that you have to make as a translator, even if you're collaborating with a living poet, and how your own either assumptions or experience might work its way into the translations of the poems.
I guess I'll speak first. I'm really lucky that all the people that I've translated thus far are living and really nice to me. So I fuck up a lot and I send them the work and then they're really nice and they're like, oh, that's wrong and this is wrong. And so I'm lucky enough that Jaehyun is really nice and Yuan is really nice. But I think there's moments where you run into untranslatables. And in those moments where things can't be translated, you're like, you have to sit there and wrestle with this thing that's not necessarily yours because it's already been written in this language. And those are things that you just have to step in and just like come up with something. For instance, there's a poem that we're gonna read later, Supernatural 3D Printing, where he has a pun, and the pun is untranslatable. It's like shaman, bug, like mudang bole. Mudang bole is like a praying mantis, but there's also a shaman who's a mudang in the same lines. There's a pun. And I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do with that? So I made like lady shaman and ladybug. So for you guys, for an English language audience, it's turned into a lady. Yeah.
It's a ladybug.
Oh, ladybug.
They're red, like
Mudang bole, sorry. Yeah, mudang bole. So then I turned it into a lady shaman. Thank you. She's
I feel like as a translator, I have a particular way of translating prose poetry. I have a bee in my bonnet about punctuation and capital letters. And because of that, I feel like prose poems I translate from Korean end up looking very similar, no matter who I'm translating, which is a problem. Like a Ha Jae-yeon poem, prose poem is very different from a Kim Il-sung prose poem. But I sort of make them look the same. But that's because I have certain ideas about how punctuation should work. Yeah. Did we want to read?
Yeah. You guys are gonna read a poem?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a poem that deals with this kind of untranslatable.
We'll explain it first. So the Korean term 안녕, which is just hello, can also mean goodbye. So that's untranslatable.
고속도로 위에서
Above the highway,
우리는 안녕이라고 말하지 않는다.
we don't say hello.
내일은 가운데서 만나자.
Let's meet in the middle tomorrow.
껌처럼 늘어지는 불빛들을 눈으로 가리며
Shading your eyes from lights stretching like gum.
너는 입술이 삐뚤어지게 웃는다.
You smile crookedly.
내 머리카락을 날리며 지나가는 차들의 광속 너머로 붉은 머리를 지켜든 라이트 사이로 너는 뛰어간다.
You run past the cars, the speed of light fluttering your hair between the lights with their red heads up.
내게는 무대도 코러스도 없다.
You have no stage, no chorus.
등을 구부렸다 곧게 펴고서 너는 곧잘
You bend your back, then straighten. You freely
평균대 위에 선 아이처럼 발을 벌린다.
spread your arms like a child on a balance beam.
바람은 너의 냄새를 흩어버린다.
Wind scatters your scent.
네 맥박이 뛸 때만 너는 움직인다.
You only move when your pulse beats.
우리는 안녕이라고 말하지 않는다.
We don't say goodbye.
내 발목은 금방 잡힐 것만 같다.
Looks like your ankles will be caught soon.
아무데로도 가지 않는.
By what doesn't go anywhere. So in that poem, there are two lines that are identical in Korean. 우리는 안녕이라고 말하지 않는다. But in the English version, I made the first one. We don't say hello. And the second version, we don't say goodbye. And this was a fairly arbitrary decision based on the fact that the book makes several references to the Beatles, the group. So I was thinking about hello, goodbye, and that was why I chose to do it. But it could have been hello both times or goodbye both times or reversed, and I suppose the reader wouldn't have known that that was what was happening.
The title of the third collection of my poem is Universal Hello. 우주적인 안녕. 안녕. It is translated as Universal Hello for this festival, but I intended both meaning. Hello and goodbye. So universal hello and goodbye. So I'm curious about how the word 안녕 can be translated. But Sunan showed me. Yeah, it's very fantastic experience.
I'd love for any of you to talk a little bit more. That was a great example, and I think it opens the door to talk specifically about Korean poetry. I don't know why this always happens with my voice, but to talk specifically about Korean poetry and translation. We've been talking a lot about translation in general, but what are maybe some of the more particular challenges in translating either from English into Korean or from Korean into English, whether it's idioms, syntax, grammar, any of those?
I only translate from English to Korean. I got some suggestions from the publishers that, maybe you want to translate some of the Korean poems into English. And I always say no. My English is not, I can speak English and I can understand, but I'm not a poet. I don't write poems in English. So I always think that, it has to be a poet to translate. You has to be a translator to translate, but also you have to be a poet to translate poems. So yeah. So when I translated Bob Dylan, there are lots of rhymes. It's a song, lyrics. So I don't know if you guys are a fan of Bob Dylan, or some of you don't agree with the Nobel Prize. It was a huge issue also in Korea. Is it right or wrong, Anyway, I personally really like him, but these rhymes, if you translate them into Korean, we just lose them all. Or it's just all gone. So all we left is, just plain meanings, bare meanings. It's like seeing Bob Dylan, naked, without his hairs and without his guitar, clothing. It's true. It's still Bob Dylan. It's there, right there. It's the same person, but all our fashions and guitars, it's a part of him, essential part of him. So if you lose them, it's just still Bob Dylan. So it wasn't Bob. But Jake Levin said that Hwang Yuan he translated was not Hwang Yuan enough, so he had to put some Hwang Yuan flavoring. But in my case, it wasn't like Bob Dylan enough. It was like not like Bob Dylan at all. Sometimes, you know, supposed to be a great poet, but in my translation, it wasn't that special. So I tried very hard to, you know, yeah, make him look like Bob Dylan. So this is the problem, like or like sonnets. You can, if you translate the sonnets of Shakespeare, it's not that good in Korean. It can't be good. No matter who you are, it's beyond our, you know, capacity. So it's pretty sad, but we have to, because it's impossible. We have to really try hard all the time to make it look like a poem.
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases there's this thing like dynamic equivalence where you can't bring something over, so you try and fill in or dress something up or make it look good. But I think like a lot of things that are really difficult to capture is the nuance or tone. Also, you can't like translate an entire culture or cultural reference over. And footnotes often distract readers. I think readers don't like to read footnotes as much in a poem. And so the translator actually has quite a big job of like how much of that dynamic equivalence do they want to do, how many footnotes, or if they're going to include footnotes, as Sue referred to. And so I think everybody like comes up with their own strategy depending on the project.
We're also going to close with a poem, but before we do that, I wanted to open it up to the audience and see if there are any questions people would like to ask of our poets and translators up here. I see one in the back, yeah. You can shout it out.
Okay. How, when you're creating your work, in the back of your mind, is translation an aspect that you're considering? Like, does it impact the poem that you're writing because you want to consider, what it is in English?
So the question was, when you are writing new work, how much does the potential future of having that work translated impact how you think about the work when you're writing it to begin with?
Or is that even a consideration?
Yeah, and the answer might be not at all.
I can't imagine anybody really thinks about that, do they?
I'll answer it. And then you guys can think about it.
Yeah, that's a hard.
In my case, sometimes I think about the possibility of translation. I have been a long time ago, 20 years ago, I attended the workshop of creative writing. So I had to translate my poems. And after that, I could think about that. Yeah, sometimes.
I suppose now that I think about it, there have been times when I thought, oh, this is untranslatable, but I wouldn't like do anything differently because of that. It's like, why would I?
I don't think, I write now, I've been writing like a lot of poems in Korean and publishing them in Korea. But when I think about my poems in Korea and for a Korean audience, I feel like I have two different poets inside of me. One writing in one language, one writing in a different language. And I don't know, when I'm writing in English, I definitely don't think, can I translate that into Korean? And when I'm writing in Korean, I don't think, can I translate this into English? I think it would be really hard to do that. I know in fiction, that's like, there's been a big thing about that. Fiction writers like thinking about how can I write a story that would appeal to an audience beyond the borders of my own country. But I don't know, like poetry doesn't really have a market, like a huge market. So I don't know how many translated books of poetry everybody's reading a year, but I hear that it's quite a small percentage. And I know it would be great if people were, because I would like to make a little bit more money, you know. But yeah, I don't think that's really, yeah. Do you have?
Yeah. In my case, when someone, you know, like for this festival, when they ask me to send some of my poems to translate, I just choose, you know, among the poems that I've written, which is translatable. And most of them are, I think they are untranslatable. Especially the ones that I wrote recently, they're just, you know, there are too many puns, and I'm getting more and more like it. You know. Yeah, I just play with words and sentences. So that's just can't. So it's a shame. I only need to read it. I only need to share it, but you know, I didn't even try because I didn't wanna, you know, suffer my pride. Yeah, I didn't. And it's impossible anyway. So yeah.
I'll say I had an experience when I went to Korea. What year was that? 2015. 20. No, it wasn't 2018. 2016, I think. 2016 or 2017. Anyway, I went to Korea on a cultural ambassador grant, which is, the grant worked because while I was there, I met a bunch of poets and translators and talked with the Institute, and that was the genesis of the Moon Country poetry series that Black Ocean has done. So I guess the purpose of the grant as a cultural ambassadorship worked. But while I was there, some students had been given some of my poems in advance to translate, and I got to sit in on the workshop, and they shared their translations, and some of them were into Korean and some of them were actually into some other languages, which was cool. And this was, they had translated mostly poems from my first book, which I thought would be like really easy poems to translate because the word choices are very simple, it's very imagistic, it's sort of like, oh, this is like, but what I hadn't been thinking about is that I use enjambment to create double meanings a lot in my poems, or in that book I did anyway. And that is another sort of tension or type of nuance that I realized as I was listening to all these students read their translations was like very, very difficult, it seemed like, to communicate in translation. And so it's not that it has changed the way that I write, but it has made me conscious of that as an almost untranslatable device in my own work when I'm employing it. Let's take one more question. Yeah. Sorry. Maybe two. Yeah.
It seems like there are kind of two translations when you translate a poem, the literal one and the creative one, or the poetic one. Would you see any benefit from having both?
So the question was, did everyone hear the question? Yeah, okay.
So I do a lot of poetry translation, but I do a lot of other poetry translation, like as a gun for hire. And so like randomly I got a call one day from Big Hit Entertainment, which is like the production company behind BTS. Do you guys know who BTS is? Yeah. So their #2 band is called ENHYPEN. And so they're like, hey, we need like a really poetic translation of this monologue that is gonna open our new album. And I'm like, how much are you gonna pay me? And so they asked, when they did it, I was like, they sent me the lyrics of what they wanted translated, and I gave them like levels of creative juice. I was like, how much do you want me to do? And I gave them like 5 different copies. They gave them like bare minimum, like, this is actually what you sent me, this is what it means. And then I turned up the volume, and the last one was like my own poem. And so they ended up with the one that has like the very bare bones of what they sent me. and my own poem. The problem is they didn't give me any royalties, and I'm an idiot because I've never done that kind of shit before. And so like they're opening up every single concert with that monologue, and I only got paid like $300. And the YouTube for that song has like 250 million views or something. just a little backstory. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, they don't teach you about that kind of business in an MFA program, you know what I mean?
Could I ask a question about artificial intelligence? For some I know you're not supposed to raise this with translators. It's entering the question of the sacred and the sacrilegious and so on. But translators do have little helpers, and they are called DeepL or Google Translate, whatever. Tell us about this experience if you dabble with these devices with Korean and English, or if you've not dabbled, or if you can't read it in public, or whatever. Please feel free to just write it.
I'll start by saying that Black Ocean is publishing a book later this summer called I Create Like the Word, which is about poetry in the age of machine intelligence. And we have a number of roundtable discussions within the book about engaging with AI, and some really fantastic poets, some of whom have been doing it decades before ChatGPT. I'm not the editor of that, I'm the publisher, I'm not the editor, but in consulting with the editors, one of the things that was interesting to me about that, which ties back to translation, is that, you know, depending on how well you understand large language models and machine intelligence, it is a pattern-seeking algorithm, right? So it seeks patterns, which is what our human brains do, is what we evolved to do as humans, is to seek out patterns and understand them, which is why we talk about it as machine intelligence. And in a certain way, it then interprets those patterns and makes associative leaps based on the large amounts of data that it's been fed. That's how the large language models work. So you can make a certain argument that it is making choices. It is making, the machine intelligence, the AI is making choices about, based on, you know, the millions, billions, trillions of data sets, this seems like the best choice. But it isn't really making the best choice, and this is what we come back to with the translator's voice. It's making the most obvious or the most common choice. And I think that's where things, when we talk about literal translation versus poetic translation in our previous question, that's where things get lost, right? It's not making a poetic choice, it's not making a creative choice, it's not making a choice that's filtered through like agony and ecstasy and pain and human experience. It's making a choice that is the most obvious choice, which to me, as a poet and as an editor and as a publisher, is somewhat antithetical to what a poetic choice is.
Korean has very, very specific ways of conveying tone and the appropriate level of like distance or closeness between speaker and hearer. And a lot of that is done through verb endings. There are like 20 different ways of saying a verb depending on like who you are and who you're speaking to and what the situation is. So when my students cheat on their writing homework and use Google Translate, the most obvious way I can tell is that those verb endings are garbage. Like it might be grammatically correct, but it just simply does not fit the context of the writing assignment at all. So it feels like for now, that's just not working. It's like, I can't explain how nuanced the tone is, but right now the machine models are gravitating toward like a very casual internet speak, I think. So they can't really convey how you would say this if you were, you know, turning in an assignment to your teacher and you have to use polite language, you know? Or sometimes it gets like too formal, like I suppose legal writing, but it doesn't quite get across tone yet.
I think you know, like this is a popular topic of a lot of translation conferences. I go to a lot of those sometimes in Korea. I think I'm not so interested in like machines taking over writing. I'm more interested in like, can we have machines be able to read books and buy them? Like, can these guys like invent more readers for us? Because that's like, I don't know if we need more writers. We don't just need more readers.
So I want to be mindful of time. I know we started late, but I don't want to end too late as well. And we talked about ending with a poem too. Do we want to? Yeah. Okay.
Should I'll introduce it. This is a poem I wrote. I was invited to write, to translate 10 poems of Ha Jae-hyun's poems several years ago. And so I wrote a poem in response and based on the poems that she wrote that I was translating, and then she translated that poem into Korean for the event. So we're gonna read it in English and Korean now. It's called Hail Utopia after Ha Jae-hyun.
유토피아에게 하재현의 시에 붙여.
Under the Arizona sun, I think of the peach half, wriggling while the worm body blackens to a concrete stain. Is the part still alive, the head or the ass?
아리조나의 태양 아래 벌레 몸뚱어리가 검게 콘크리트 얼룩이 될 때까지 꿈틀대는 복숭아 반쪽에 대해 나는 생각한다. 여전히 살아있는 부분은 머리일까, 꽁무니일까?
Dissecting K-pop stars like kids ripping the clothes off plastic dolls and splitting them in half with a kitchen knife. I think of a dog missing its front leg, circling only to the left, the mouth trying to eat the body, while the body is dragged away by the mouth.
플라스틱 인형의 옷을 잡아뜯어 키친 나이프로 반을 가르는 아이들처럼 K-팝을 해부하며 왼쪽 앞다리를 잃고 왼쪽으로만 돌고 있는 개에 대해 몸은 입에 끌려가면서 몸을 먹으려고 애쓰는 입에 대해 나는 생각한다.
Up, down, down.
위, 아래, 위, 아래.
On cold days, a memory of the burnt smell of Barbie's burning hair warms the inside of my nose.
바비 인형의 불타는 머리카락 냄새가 내 코 속을 따뜻하게 하던 추운 날의 기억.
Some decisions are made in advance.
어떤 결정들은 미리 이루어지고.
And yet the details of personal contracts are made murky with smudged ink, like the light feeling at the end of a long meditation. The only reason I keep running while I am jogging is because I'm being chased by old age.
그러나 조깅을 하는 동안 내가 뛰고 있는 단 한 가지 이유는 나이에 쫓기기 때문이라는 것. 긴 명상의 끝에 찾아오는 빛의 느낌처럼 사람들 사이 계약의 세부는 번지는 잉크로 어두워진다.
In that way, I eat fresh sardines at the South Sea, and at dusk I am like the socialist that looks out the window at the end of the waters and knows the revolution is at least as far as the horn of that little boat that disappeared in the fog.
그런 식으로 나는 남쪽 바다에서 신선한 정어리를 먹고 혁명이 마치 안개 속으로 사라진 작은 배의 백고동 소리만큼 멀리 있다는 것을 아는 해질 무렵의 사회주의자처럼 창밖으로 바다의 끝을 바라본다.
Even though we can't see it, we can hear it.
우리는 보지 못하지만 우리는 들을 수 있다.
If we send a signal out, we might be able to communicate.
우리가 신호를 보낸다면 우리는 교신할 수 있을 것이다.
Hello, Utopia.
Hello, Utopia.
As if we are now living at the end of the world.
이제 세계의 끝에 살게 된 우리에게 보내듯이.
Even though you feel its warmth, if you stare eye to eye with the sun, your vision will get burned. So I wonder, if you grind them, can you plaster the walls of cracked dreams with the dust of broken hearts?
당신이 그 따뜻함을 느낀다고 해도 태양을 맨눈으로 쳐다보면 시력에 화상을 입듯이 그러므로 당신이 심장을 갈아낸다면 부서진 심장의 가루들로 금간 꿈들의 벽을 메울 수 있을까?
When Park Geun-hye was still president, the mom of the girl covered her ears and said, my head hurts, and clenched her hands into fists and started beating her head when she learned me and her daughter were in love.
박근혜가 아직 대통령일 때 나와 여자친구가 사랑하는 사이라는 걸 안 그녀의 어머니는 주먹을 쥐고 자신의 머리를 치며 귀를 감싸고서 머리가 아파 말했지.
That time it wasn't because I'm a poet.
내가 시인이라서가 아니었어.
It was because I'm white.
내가 백인이기 때문이었지.
For at least as long as Barack Obama's 2 terms, I've thought about the heaviness of feelings, states, and conditions.
적어도 버락 오바마의 2 임기 동안만큼 나의 감정과 상태와 조건의 무거움에 대해 나는 생각해 보았지.
Professor Emeritus of drunk texting, I quit alcohol and became an ex-president of gloom. I wrap a blanket around my body and head and pretend I'm invisible.
술에 취해 메시지를 보내는 명예교수로서 술을 끊고 나는 우울의 전 대통령이 되었네. 담요를 몸과 머리에 뒤집어 쓰고 내가 보이지 않는 척했지.
However, no one has verified if the trick works.
하지만 이 기술이 통했는지 아직 아무도 확인하지 못했지.
That's because I live alone.
이것이 내가 혼자가 된 이유.
The sadness weighs as much as the Arctic shelf. However, because it's constantly melting, it gets lighter all the time.
이 슬픔은 북극의 지층만큼이나 무겁다. 그러나 계속해서 녹고 있어서 그것은 항상 더 가벼워진다.
Someday, soon, the sadness will be a white speck surrounded by the blue sea. At a closer look, an emaciated bear balancing on the last cube of ice.
언젠가 곧 이 슬픔은 푸른 바다에 둘러싸인 하얀 점이 될 것이다. 가까이 보면 야윈 곰 한 마리가 빙하의 마지막 덩어리에 매달려 있을 것이다.
On that horizon, the white will go extinct.
그 수평선 위 하양은 사라질 것이다.
Once you get used to this blue, maybe we'll believe there was no bear to begin with.
당신이 파랑에 익숙해지면 아마 우리는 처음부터 한 마리의 곰도 없었다고 믿게 될 것이다.
As for the innocence of a child, it isn't heavy at all, but it becomes that big black crater on the face of the moon when it's gone.
아이의 무고함에서처럼 전혀 무겁지 않을 것이다. 하지만 사라져가며 그것은 달 표면에 커다란 검은 분화구가 된다.
The heaviness of a hole is made up entirely by its surroundings. A divot on the golf course, a trench on the battlefield.
구멍의 무거움은 온전히 둘러싸인 것들에 의해 만들어진다. 골프코스의 디벗, 전장의 참호.
There are 3 bullet holes in the shirt of a man on TV.
TV에 나오는 남자의 셔츠에는 총알 구멍이 3개.
But where is the stain for the blood?
그러나 피의 얼룩은 어디에 있는가?
My aunt had a drug addiction. It was as heavy as Jesus' cross. Because of the weight, the ground sunk beneath her feet when she walked, screaming, "Father, Father," over and over until, surrounded by dirt, her body became food for the worms.
나의 고모는 마약 중독이었지. 그건 예수의 십자가만큼 무거웠어. 그 무게 때문에 그녀가 걸을 때 바다 발밑으로 땅이 가라앉았지. 아버지, 아버지 계속해서 외치며 그녀의 몸은 벌레의 음식이 될 때까지 먼지에 둘러싸였지.
My friend Ian hung himself when I was 21.
내 친구 이안은 내가 21살 때 목을 매달았고
My friend Drew overdosed on pain pills at 19.
내 친구 드류는 19살에 진통제를 과다 복용했어.
My ex-girlfriend's husband smoked bath salts and got shot dead by the police in a hostage situation.
내 옛날 여자친구의 남편은 베스솔트를 피우다 경찰과의 인질극에서 총을 맞았지.
My grandmother was alone in a hospice center when she died because my dad was stoned.
나의 할머니는 호스피스 센터에서 죽을 때 혼자였는데 아버지가 대마초에 취해 있었기 때문이지.
There are weights I am not trained to handle.
내가 감당할 수 없는 무게들이 있다.
Do people still feel the weight of the ghost of my grandfather's plane in Pyongyang? Is there a survivor that can tell me about the sound of his bombs? Can I ask for forgiveness in his absence?
사람들은 아직도 평양에서 나의 할아버지가 탔던 비행기에 유령의 무게를 느낄까? 그의 폭격음에 대해 내게 말해줄 수 있는 생존자가 있을까? 그가 없는데 나는 용서를 구할 수 있을까?
I know that my family's Judaism was so heavy they had to leave Europe.
우리 가족의 유대교가 너무 무거워 그들이 유럽을 떠나야 했다는 걸 알지만
But now that I became white,
지금 나는 백인이 되었고
I know my whiteness is heavier than my love.
나의 백색이 나의 사랑보다 무거움을 알고 있다.
Someone please tell me, maybe let's take a survey. If I take off this white sheet, do I keep pretending I'm a ghost?
누군가 말해주기를 내가 이 하얀 껍질을 벗는다면 계속 유령인 척 할 수 있을까?
Can I get a thumbs up?
서베일에서 나는 좋아요를 얻을 수 있을까?
Can we hear it one more time for all of our panelists? And I believe pretty soon we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to have more reading in Korean and English. So stick around for that if you're interested. We have some of the Moon Country books for sale on the table over there. I'm going to go hang out and have a drink, and you can buy them for me, cash, electronic stuff, whatever. We'll figure it out. But thank you all for coming and your thoughtful participation.
All right, so we're going to do a performance this evening. They're going to kind of come up in duos and read their kick-ass poetry. I've been traveling around Louisiana with these poets this whole week on the NOPF Roadshow. So I've heard a lot of these poems, and you are in for a treat this evening. So that's all I'll say. I'll let them get to it.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here in New Orleans. Thank you for having us. I appreciate the hospitality of people of New Orleans Poetry Festival, Bill, Ellie, Chris, and especially Sean. Also, I want to express my gratitude to my translators, Jake Rubin and Soo-yeon Baek and Janaka of Black Ocean. There is a sentence: our entire lives are wasted trying to meet a person who understands our rhythm. In my poem, April Story, I believe that this long trip from South Korea in April is for that. I'm now gonna read 6 poems in my book Radio Days with Sue, and I'm gonna read 5 poems with Jake Levine that were written recently. 거품. 그는 확실한 사람이었을지도 모른다. 그러나 왜 그에게 한 말들이 텅 하고 울려 나왔을까? 거품에 대해서라면 나는 어린 시절 그 어지러웠던 비눗방울의 아름다움에 대해서밖에 말할 수가 없다.
She might have been a real person, but why did what I said to her echo back with a clang? About foam, the only thing I can say is the dizzying beauty of soap bubbles in my childhood.
나는 여러 개 동그라미가 되어 건너편으로 날아간다. 동그라미들이 어디까지 닿는지 이쪽에 나는 볼 수가 없고 내 동그란 입은 빨강, 주황, 초록 나를 자꾸자꾸 만들어낸다.
I become many circles and fly to the other side. The me on this side can't see how far the circles reach. My round mouth keeps making more of me, red, orange, green.
이쪽에 나는 아직 이쪽이고 그는 끝나지 않는 그림이다. 그의 얼굴은 맑았다가 개었다가 구름은 꼬리에 꼬리를 문다. 그의 표정이 또 다른 곳에서 빗방울을 만들어내는 동안
On this side, I'm still me. On the other side, she is a never-ending picture. Her face brightens and falls, and the clouds bite each other's tails, while her expression makes raindrops elsewhere.
내 투명해진 눈동자를 넘어 그를 본다. 나는 아마도 조금 전에 그를 보고 있었던 것이다. 조금 후에도 그는 사라지지 않는다. 그러므로 나는 확실한 그를 보고 있었던 것일까?
Over my pupils now transparent, I look at her. Maybe I'm looking at her from a little while ago. A little while later, she still hasn't disappeared. In that case, have I been looking at the real her?
5분간.
For 5 minutes.
어려운 건 결심의 문제다. 저 구름은 5분간 한 자리에 머물러 있기로 한 모양이다.
The difficult thing is a question of determination. That cloud must have decided to linger for 5 minutes.
5분 후 구름은 쉬지 않고 내내 자세를 바꿀 수도 있을 것이다. 중요한 것은 내가 보고 있는 5분간이다.
After 5 minutes, the cloud might shift endlessly. The important thing is the 5 minutes I'm watching.
바람이 구름을 지나치는 순간 구름의 모양은 흐트러진다. 그것이 바람의 힘이었을까를 생각하는 것은 어리석은 일이다. 그렇지 않은가?
The moment a wind passes the cloud, its shape scatters. It's foolish to think that's the cloud's strength. Don't you think so?
그 역도 마찬가지다. 구름의 힘이 바람을 불러들인 것은 아니다.
The opposite is also true. The cloud's strength didn't summon the wind.
저기 있는 구름을 결정한 것은 구름의 형태가 아니고 내가 보는 구름은 5분간 한 자리에 머물러 있는 구름이다.
What decided that cloud isn't the shape of the cloud. The cloud I'm watching is the cloud that's lingered for 5 minutes.
우리는 5분간 아주 약간 옮겨진 건지도 모르지만
Although for 5 minutes we might slightly have moved.
구름의 식탁
Cloud's table.
25시 슈퍼마켓의 왼쪽 네 번째 선반 푸른색 정어리 통조림이 1,400원이다. 먼지가 소용돌이 모양으로 앉아있다.
Left side, fourth shelf of the 25-hour supermarket. A blue tin of sardines for 1,400 won. Dust sits on it in a vortex.
나는 10,000원을 내고 동전 2개를 짤랑거리며 돌아온다. 볕에 담겨있는 7개의 죽음 혹은 7개의 식탁.
I pay 10,000 won and come back rattling 2 coins. Inside, 7 deaths with bones in, or 7 meals on the table.
부엌 창 앞의 정어리들 뾰족한 머리를 하늘로 향하고 있다. 정어리의 머리들은 전부 어디로 갔는가?
Sardines in front of the kitchen window, pointing sharp heads to the sky. Where have all the sardine heads gone?
소나기와 고양이가 가끔 창문을 기웃거리다 그들의 지문을 남겨놓는다.
Sudden rain and a cat sometimes prowl at the window. They leave their prints.
그러나 정어리는 고양이에게, 고양이는 소나기에게, 소나기는 정어리에게 무관심하다. 무관심한 그들의 지문을 며칠째 남겨놓는다.
But the rain is uninterested in the cat in the rain in the sardines. I let their uninterested prints linger for days.
나의 식탁에 가끔 초대받는 것은 구름이다. 그는 고요히 턱을 괴고 나와 나의 저녁에 그늘을 들이운다.
A cloud sometimes gets invited to my table. It quietly props its chin and casts a shadow on me in my evening.
구름을 걷어내기란 힘이 들어서 나는 한 옆에 그늘을 거튼처럼 늘어뜨리고 깡통을 딴다.
Because it's hard to roll away a cloud, I drape the shadow to one side like a curtain and open the tin.
내 부엌 창 앞의 정어리 깡통은 언제나 7개다. 7가지의 죽음 혹은 7개의 행운.
Always 7 sardine tins in front of my kitchen window. 7 types of death or 7 types of luck.
신세대 오락실의 텀블링 세대를 지나 현대부동산 앞에 평상을 지나면 25시 슈퍼마켓.
Past the 3 tumbling games at New Generation Arcade and the wide bench in front of Hyundai Real Estate, the 25-hour supermarket.
나는 자정 이후 그곳에 가본 적이 없다. 다만 아침까지 주인에게 잊혀진 환한 간판을 상상할 뿐.
I've never been there past midnight. I've only imagined the bright sign forgotten by the owner until morning.
그리고 25시 슈퍼마켓의 왼쪽 네 번째 선반에는 푸르게 절여진 죽음과 움직이지 않는 소용돌이가 쌓여 있다. 하나에 1,400원이다.
And on the left side, fourth shelf of the 25-hour supermarket, death pickled blue and an unmoving vortex, heaped for 1,400 won each.
이동.
Movement.
당신은 그 여자를 알고 있었는가? 떨림이나 울음 같은 것을 말하는 것은 아니다. 그 여자의 보이지 않는 둘레 안에 누군가 들어왔다 나갔다 하는 것을. 둥그런 무늬가 일그러지거나 또 다른 고리를 만드는 것을.
Did you know her? I'm not talking about things like trembling or crying, but someone came in and out of her invisible circumference. The round pattern collapsed or made a different loop.
만약 당신이 선택하는 자라면 옆에 있거나 떠나거나 둘 중에 하나이다. 그러나 당신은 그 여자를 알고 있었는가?
If you could choose, you could stay by her side or leave, one or the other. But did you know her?
그 여자는 울거나 웃었거나가 아니라 다른 쪽을 향해 조금씩 움직였다는 것을.
It wasn't that she cried or laughed, but she moved ever so slightly to the other side.
나만의 인생,
My own life.
내 눈동자는 나의 것,
My eyes are my own.
눈썹을 깜빡이는 것도 나의 의지입니다.
Making my eyes blink is my will.
고개를 돌려 당신을 바라보는 것도 나의 의지.
Turning around to look at you is also my will.
내 손은 나의 것.
My hand is my own.
담배를 피우거나 비벼 끄는 것은 나의 의지입니다.
Smoking a cigarette or rubbing it out is my will.
연기가 피어올라 공중으로 사라져가듯
Like smoke curling up and disappearing into air.
나의 말은 나에게서 나와 당신에게로 흘러들어 갑니다.
My words come out of me and flow into you.
당신이 나의 말을 이해할 수 없다면 그것은 내 뜻이 아닙니다.
If you can't understand my words, that's not what I intended.
그렇지 않은가요?
Isn't that right?
어느 날 당신은 누군가를 사랑하게 되고
One day you come to love someone.
거리에 불이 켜지면 나는 거리로 나갑니다.
And the lights go on in the streets. Then I go out into the streets.
어느 날 가로등들이 꺼졌다 켜졌다 하듯이
One day, like the street lamps going off and on,
당신은 누군가를 만나게 되고
you meet someone.
나는 쏟아지는 불빛을 거리에서 맞습니다.
And I'm pelted by pouring light in the street.
나의 의지는 나만의 것이지만
But my will is still all mine.
피의 책.
Book of blood.
너는 피의 책이다.
You are a book of blood.
내 눈에 뜨거운 신경 다발은 목구멍까지 이어져 있다.
Your eye's hot bundle of nerves connects all the way to your throat.
얇은 낱장들이 내게서 펄럭였다.
Thin pages fluttered from me.
한 권의 책에는 어떤 사건도 담기는 법.
Any incident can be contained in a book.
너는 육신으로 기록한다.
You record with your body.
내 몸의 모래 알갱이들.
My body's grains of sand.
발바닥을 찌르는 빛나던 유리잔.
The brilliant glass piercing my feet.
토마토의 차가운 속살.
Cold tomato flesh.
내 피는 붉고 너를 서서히 채우고 그리고 식는다.
Your blood is red. It fills you slowly, then cools.
바람은 어디에서든 잠깐 불어왔을 뿐
Wind blew from somewhere just for a bit.
내게는 너의 현재가 읽히지 않을 것이다.
You can't read your present.
나는 아무 일도 도모하지 않기 위해 다른 나라의 말을 하기 시작했다.
Because I don't want to promote anything, I've started speaking a foreign language.
그것이 언젠가 비로소 번역되기를 바라면서.
Hoping one day it will be translated into blood.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. These are 5 poems about how languages cannot be unified. 흰 페이지들.
White pages.
주어진 페이지들이 함부로 당도한 까마득한 발자국들로 뒤덮여 있을 때 흰 빛은 어떻게 되찾을까?
When footprints that arrived without permission from far away cover the given pages, how are the pages going to get their whites back?
발자국에서 자라나는 벽들의 높이와
The height of the bricks growing from footprints,
발자국에서 증폭하는 잎들의 묵음이
and the silence of mouths amplifying from footprints.
페이지의 두께를 더해가는 식민의 계절에도 자라나는 것들이 있다.
Even in the season of colonization that thickens the pages, things grow.
시간의 틈새에서 솟아난 균류처럼 우리는 무성하게 입을 벌리고 결국에는 밀림처럼
Like fungi that spores in the cracks of time. When we open our mouths thickly, in the end, like a jungle,
빽빽하고 야만스러워지는 삶.
We become dense and barbaric.
바람은 기원을 알 수 없는 곳에서 불어오고 베이지들이 끝을 모른 채 넘어간다.
Wind blows here from an unknown place and pages flip and flip and flip.
정박지도 도로도 없이 길을 잃다 만난 너와 나.
Without anchor or road, you and I met when we lost our way.
우리에게는 미개발의 빛들이 도착하고야 마는 것이다.
The undeveloped light finally reaches us.
추방된 자들.
The exiled.
여러 개로 갈라지는 혀를 가졌기에
Because we have a tongue that splits into multiples,
우리는 순종할 수 없습니다.
we can't obey.
당신들이 당신들을 남용하여
In this small world,
빛이 너무 많아졌습니다.
there became too much light
이 작은 세계에
because you abuse yourselves.
파도가 데려온 산호의 끝처럼 무한하게 회귀하는 말의 갈퀴에 쓸려
I'm swept away by rakes of speech and return infinitely, like the ends of coral washed up by waves.
무지하고 아름다운 아이들이 사라졌어요.
Clueless and beautiful children vanished.
빛이 있으라 했어도 어둠이 더욱 필요한 몸뚱이들이 태어납니다.
Even if you say, let there be light, bodies that need more darkness are born.
번식하는 문맹의 시간 속
In the time of breeding illiteracy,
내 혀에서 솟아나는
in the prayers of the countless horns,
무수한 뿔들이 읊조리는 기도에는
spurting from my tongue,
신도 나라도 없습니다.
there is no God or country.
우리말을 쓰는 사람.
Speakers of duck speak.
Dog speak is from George Orwell's Newspeak. 이곳을 떠나서 나는 더 큰 입으로 소리를 내야지.
I'm going to leave this place and make noise with a bigger mouth.
생각이 없고 개념도 없이
No thoughts, no concepts.
꽥꽥꽥꽥.
Quack, 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 quack.
우리말이 통하는 곳으로 휴가를 왔다고 커다란 트렁크를 열면
When I go to the place where duck speak is spoken, I'm going to say I'm on vacation. And when I open my big suitcase,
챙긴 적이 없는 다른 사람의 아이도 튀어나오고
somebody else's kids pop out who I didn't pack in.
다른 사람의 아이가 가져온 봉봉 사탕도 튀어나오고
Lollipops that the kids brought also pop out and
동그랗고 새빨간 막대 사탕이 우리의 입을 막고
the red round lollies shut our mouths and
다 함께 볼이 불룩해져서
our cheeks bulge together and
꽥꽥꽥 꽥꽥꽥꽥
quack, 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 quack.
떠들다가 즐거워지는 그런 곳으로
To a place where we become happy after chatting.
아무것도 채워 넣으면 안 되는 검고 무겁고 막막한 트렁크를 하나씩만 들고
Each person brings a single suitcase, black, heavy, and desolate, with nothing allowed in.
후천적인 삶,
An acquired life.
다른 나라의 말들만이
The languages of other countries
우리에게는 필요합니다.
are all we need.
사랑은 사라지는 것.
Love is that which disappears.
너의 입술은 너의 국기.
Your lips are your flag.
흘러나오는 모든 것들을 주워 담아
All that which pours out and pools.
내 몸을 새로운 피로 채우는 마술은
The magic that fills your body with new blood
추방된 어린아이의 손끝에서
rests at the tips of an exiled child.
끝나기 위해서만 못 갖춘 마디에
No song begins with an anacrusis,
노래가 시작되지 않습니다.
just to end.
이민자의 외투를 빌려 입고
Wearing the borrowed coat of an immigrant,
불완전한 목소리를 가다듬어
clearing an incomplete throat.
나 여기 있어.
Yes, yes, I am here.
계속해서
Torn up
찢어지는
continuously.
전 조각의 실 한 오라기로
As one string from a scrap of cloth.
바람에 섞여들어
is swept away into the wind,
있을 수 없는 일이 되어 가면서
into a thing that cannot be split,
쓸 수 없는 문자로 쪼개지면서
apart into unwritable text.
And the last poem is inspired by the short story of Tae-chang, 72 Letters.
27 letters.
27글자.
If you reverse 72,
72글자를 거꾸로 하면
you get 27.
27글자.
Amongst minerals, the mineral crystals that take on the shape of other mineral crystals are called fakes.
광물 중에는 다른 광물의 결정형을 갖게 된 것이 있는데
But maybe they are not fake.
그것을 가짜 결정이라고 말한다.
They just wanted to be something different than themselves.
그러나 정확히 다른 광물이 되고 싶었던 것일까?
My endless nights of me imagining the souls of minerals.
광물의 영혼을 상상하는 나의 계속되는 밤.
I think of the darkness beyond night, never breaking into dawn.
밤 뒤의 어둠을 생각한다. 반드시 밝아지지 않을.
Into that singular night, the thoughts that I think tonight.
어떤 하나의 밤에 대하여 오로지 이 밤 속에서 생각하는 것은
The edge of my ethics, my game constantly being updated.
내 말단의 도덕 또는 첨단의 놀이.
I walked through the forest and then had this thought
나는 숲속을 걸었고 또 이런 생각을 한다.
that these lips that talk about the oak trees I know and the oak trees I don't know will never be forgiven.
내가 알고 있는 떡갈나무들과 내가 모르는 떡갈나무들에 관해 내가 본 떡갈나무라고 말하는 나의 입술은 용서받을 수 없겠지.
The oak tree, trapped in an oak tree, doesn't care about my sins and
떡갈나무 안에 갇힌 떡갈나무는 나의 죄를 상관하지 않고
the oak of yesterday and the oak of next year are growing in my forest and
어제의 떡갈나무와 1년 후의 떡갈나무가 나의 숲에서는 자라고
because they can never be completely destroyed.
완전하게 파괴될 수 있어서
The most beautiful human
가장 아름다운 인간이
is fast asleep, breathing next to me.
나의 곁에서 고르게 숨을 쉬며 잠들어 있었다.
A breath that can't be divided.
그 숨을 나누어 쉴 수는 없었다. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for having us, and I really appreciate your warm welcome. Yeah. I'm gonna read 2 poems of mine from my second book. 한산에서
Hanshan at Cold Mountain.
겨울엔 발이 차다.
In winter, my feet are cold.
마음은 안 시리고 양손도 따뜻한데 찬발이 때로 시리다.
Even though I don't feel cold and both my hands are warm, my cold feet feel chilled.
그날 퇴근길에 괜스레 걸어봤던 동호대교. 얼어붙은 한강 위에 서 있다 일렬로 날아오르던 새떼들 생각을 한 것도 아닌데 찬 발이 겨울 같다.
Standing on the frozen Han, I stood on the Dongho Bridge that I crossed on my way home, and not even having a single thought about flocks of birds that flew away is kind of like winter when my feet are cold.
네가 10년 전에 사준 등산 양말을 나는 아직도 겨울마다 꺼내 신는다.
Every winter, I still wear the hiking socks you bought for me 10 years ago.
방 안에서만, 밖에서는 안 신고 발이 시린 방 안에서만 신다가 겨울이 사라질 것 같으면 다시 벗는다.
But only in my house, not outside. I wear the socks only in the room where my feet are cold and take them off when it feels like winter has vanished.
시린발로 그동안 가본 모든 차가운 나라라도 다시 가본다.
With my chilled feet, I try to revisit all the cold countries I've been to.
발이라도 차야 한다. 마음이 안 시리면 양말이라도 벗어야 한다.
I've got to kick my feet if I don't feel cold. I need to take off my socks.
그러다 문득 다시 밀려오는 새벽에 발이 시리면
But if morning comes and my feet feel cold,
나는 어디도 갈 수 없을 것만 같고 나는 어디로도 갈 수 없을 테지만 어디로 가도 여기서 벗어날 수 없을 것만 같아.
I feel like I can't go anywhere, even though I can go anywhere. And no matter where I go, here's a place I can't seem to get out of.
시린 발이 새벽 같다.
Cold feet are like daybreak.
모든 새벽에 발이 시리고 모든 새벽에 발이 양말을 신길 거리는 것 같다.
All the feet of daybreak are cold, and all the feet of daybreak must wear socks.
늦은 새벽 술자리에서 꼰대는 자꾸 내게 너는 시인이니까 멋진 마무리 멘트나 하나 해보라는데
At a bar at late daybreak, the old dude always says, "You better say some profound last words before we leave, because you're a poet."
시인은 그런 거 대신 그저 양말이나 벗고 시린 맨발이나 보여줄 수 있을 뿐이다.
But being a poet is not like that. It's more like taking off your socks to reveal something like cold feet.
밤새 미친놈처럼 맨발로 혼자 겨울산에나 오를 수 있을 뿐이다.
It's more like being some crazy fucker wearing no shoes or socks that climbs a mountain in winter alone.
정신 못 차릴 정도로 멋진 생각이 떠오를 때까지 그 생각을 퍼줄 생각에 이가 다 시려올 때까지
Climbing until you think of something so cool that you can't get your head on straight. Climbing until your teeth ache from just the thought of having to make that thought.
그러다 발이 사라질 것 같을 때쯤 정신이 번쩍 들어 이제는 발목다 늘어난 양말 양손으로 벌려 그 속으로 너무 늦게 들어가 보기도 한다.
When my feet feel like they're about to disappear is when I get my head straight. Now I'm going to take my socks that stretched over my ankles with two hands, and even if it's too late, I'm going to stretch them wider and try to enter that consciousness.
사라질락 말락하던 발이 양말 속에서 말랑말랑해질 때까지
In my socks until they grew silky soft, my squishy feet that almost sublimated.
선배 시인 한산도 산중에 추운 밤이면 옛날에 누가 사준 양말 꺼내 신고 잤을까?
I wonder if on a cold night in the middle of mountains, in some ancient time, did my poet ancestor, Cold Mountain, also take off his socks that someone bought for him and slept?
알 수 없지만
Even though I can't know.
벌써 10년이란 세월이 흘러갔지만
Even though 10 years have passed already.
나는 아직 잊지 않았다.
I haven't forgot what happened between us.
이제 이 양말은 전신이 축 늘어져 집에서 밖에는 신을 수 없게 돼 버렸지만
These completely stretched out socks. Socks I can't even wear outside my house. I accidentally sent the wrong file to get printed, so we have to read this shit off of the phones. So if we screw up, it's my fault. sorry,
It'll be alright.
It's also our first time reading this poem.
Yeah.
So
it is the whole poem.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it. 초자연적 3D 프린팅.
Supernatural 3D printing.
하나.
1.
좀 더 큰 집이 필요하다. 그 안에 온 우주를 가둘 수 있는.
I need a bigger house to pack the universe into.
그러나 우주도 결국 하나의 집이다. 지부, 집주, 널브란 것처럼 평수가 좀 더 될 뿐.
But in the end, the universe is also a house that houses all houses, an expanse that's ever expanding, a floor plan that's a bit more expansive.
우리가 또 여기서 어디로 갈 수 있겠어? 가도 여기 이곳뿐인데.
Where else can we go from here? We go, and even if here is always where we are,
그래도 지금보다는 훨씬 큰 집이 필요하다.
I still need a way bigger house.
그건 크기만의 문제는 아니어서 한순간의 진동일 수도 있고 물에서 빠져나와 들이쉬는 단 한 번의 숨일 수도 있지만
It's not a matter of size. It could be the vibration of a single second or a breath of air rising out of the water.
여하튼 그 안에 모든 발광과 기쁨과 통곡과 신경쇠약을 가둘 수 있는 눈물과 눈물 없이 못 들어줄 그 모든 노래를 넘나들 수 있고 여기서 저기로 저기서 여기로 마음껏 건너뛰며 놀 수 있는 장대 높이 뛰기 선수가 필요하다.
And the joy, the wailing, and the nervous breakdowns, I need somewhere where I can pack them into, crossing from tears to no tears, from not listening to hearing all the songs I haven't yet heard, from here to there and back from there to here again. In order to jump and hop to my heart's content, I need a pole vaulter.
장대 높이 뛰기 선수의 흉곽 안에서 마음껏 뛰놀 수 있는 풍선처럼 터지지 않는 심장이 필요하고
When I jump as much as I want inside of a pole vaulter's chest, I need a heart that won't pop like a balloon and
그 안에 모든 핏물과 파도치는 피바다를 견뎌낼 수 있을 장대하고 긴 핏줄과 충만한 힘이 마음 놓고 뻗어나갈 수 있을 드넓은 아량과 이해와 그 모든 넘쳐나는 것들의 온갖 표면 장력을 자가 가둘 수 있을 단 한 채의 집이
I need a pole that's strong enough to withstand the long arteries and all the veins and the blood seas crashing waves and for the wide range of generosity and understanding necessary to stretch out with all that energy to trap the surface tension of all things overflowing. I need at least one house.
손에 잡히는 걸 모두 집어 던지는 대신 눈에 보이는 걸 모두 자판으로 두들겨 화면 속에 때려 박아버렸는데
Instead of throwing away everything I pick up with my hands, everything that you see with your eyes is what I knock on the keyboard, what I hit into the screen, but
세상에 글자들이 담긴 여백이 그 글자들보다 더 그럴듯해 보이는 거 있지.
For fuck's sake, rather than in written words, there must be more in the white space between characters to see and believe.
아무래도 좀 더 큰 집이 필요하다. 네 모든 무지와 나태와 방종을 가둘 수 있는 그것들 모두를 가둬 굶겨 죽일 수 있는
In any case, I need a bigger house, one to pack self-indulgence, laziness, and ignorance in. One where I can lock all self-indulgence, laziness, and ignorance and starve them to death.
아무래도 하나의 극단적인 선택이 필요하다.
In any case, I need to make one ultimate choice.
둘.
2.
초자연적인 밤.
On a supernatural night.
나는 늘 뭘 잘 모르고 뭘 잘 모르는 내가 그것에 대해 품는 생각은 늘 실제 그것을 초과한다.
I don't know much about anything. Me who doesn't know much about anything has thoughts that embrace those things that I don't know much about, and those thoughts always exceed the real thing.
초자연의 밤, 초자연적 밤바다.
On a supernatural night, the supernatural sea.
누구도 온전히 수용할 순 없어. 인간 주제. 그래봤자 겨우 쾌와 불쾌 사이를 요리조리 왔다 갔다 할 뿐인 주제.
No one can take it all in. Humanity, to be just human, is to roll back and forth between pleasure and pain.
자, 여기 칼이 많이 잠들어 있다. 어느 칼을 깨어 베어줄까?
Here, many of the knives are sleeping. Which knife should I wake up and slash you with?
잠든 칼은 깨우기만 해도 춤이다. 깨어난 칼이 가만히 앉아있기만 해도 춤이 두 눈 번뜩인다. 물에 칼 자국 난다.
Even waking a knife is a dance. Even if the knife is silently resting, with two eyes, flash, I can see the dance. Inside the water is a cut.
칼로 물베기 예술을 이번엔 누구에게 보여줄까?
The art of cutting water with a knife. The art of uselessness. Who should I show it to?
칼처럼 고요히 누워있는 물을 누구에게 먹여줄까? 누구 목에 부어줄까?
Water lying silent like a knife. Who should I feed it to? Whose neck should I pour it into?
칼춤 추는 무당아, 하늘에서 보면 너는 붕붕붕붕거리는 한 마리 무당벌레로밖에 안 보이는구나.
Lady shaman doing a knife dance. If we look down from the sky at her, all we see is a ladybug buzzing.
아무리 날아봐야 출발지와 도착지가 거기서 거기인 작은 버러지 한 마리로밖에는 생각되지 않는구나.
No matter how much it flies, whether it's the departure or the destination, shit's the same. You see one small bug and the bug always looks like it's in the same place.
먼 눈에 뭐밖에 안 보인다곤 하지만
Yes, but the shit you see with your eyes means your eyes are full of shit.
그러나 이 손가락 위를 기어가던 무당벌레는 손가락이 끝나면 그 끝에서 양 날개를 펼치고
Ladybugs that crawl on my fingers to the very end of my fingertips. They spread their wings and
붕
buzz.
날아가 버리고
They take off and
뒤에 남겨진 손가락은 날아가는 무당벌레를 한동안 멍하니 바라만 보다 다시 제정신으로 돌아와 뒤늦게 자판이나 두들긴다.
my fingers that stare unconsciously at the ladybugs that fly off come back to their senses and beat on the keyboard, but it's always too late.
춤으로 바다를 다 건너낼 수 있다고 해놓고선 바닷속으로 풍덩 물속에 들어가는 칼처럼 깨끗하게 입수하는 춤들.
Someone said that you can cross the sea by dancing, and like a knife entering the sea, every attempt at dancing enters the water cleanly and plop.
오늘은 유난히 밤이 길다.
Tonight the dark is exceptionally long.
바다 끝까지 가라앉는데 걸리는 시간과 노력처럼 쭉 늘어진 팔다리처럼 나는 그 팔다리를 다 주물러주고 싶었으나 누구는 그 팔다리를 몽땅 다 잘라주고 싶었을 것이다.
Like the time and effort it takes to sink to the bottom of the sea, like arms and legs endlessly stretching. Though I wanted to massage those limbs, someone must have wanted to chop them off.
더 이상 흔들리며 걸어다니지 않아도 되도록 물처럼 바람에 출렁이지 않도록 다 잘린 너를 식물처럼 땅에 심어주고 싶었을 것이다.
So that you no longer have to swing and walk about, so that you no longer swish in the wind like water. You, with all your limbs cut off like some plant, someone must have wanted to root you in the dirt.
흐드러지게 붉은 꽃 필 것인가? 바다 위에 점점 흩어진 산다와 같을 것인가?
And if I did, would red flowers bloom? Like camellias, would they slowly scatter atop the sea?
인간 주제, 그래봤자 겨우 눈에서 딱정벌레가 왔다 갔다 할 뿐인 주제.
Humanity, to be only human, is to get the spin so bad that your pupils are like a beetle crawling around a human eye.
무당들이 시퍼런 칼을 먹고 밤새도록 긴 힘을 뿜어내는 밤.
On a night when shamans swallow navy knives and spurt water until daybreak.
지평선에 가까워져 바닥에 펼쳐지는 몽뚱아리처럼 오늘은 길어지는 밤이 끝도 없고
Like some flabby body spreading out on the floor that closes in on the horizon. There's no end to the dark tonight, and
너는 정말이지 환하게 비쳐있다. 아주 멀리서도 다 보일 만큼.
You're so batshit that you're shooting light. So batshit crazy, you can be seen from far away.
셋.
3.
가까스로 화장실로 몸을 던져 지퍼를 여는데 간신히 성공한 나는 놀란다. 아직도 내 몸 안에 이렇게나 많은 따뜻한 것들 숨어 있었다니.
Throwing my body toward the bathroom with my zipper down, finding success with difficulty, I am amazed. There are still so many warm things hidden inside me.
술이 확 깬다. 알 수 없는 힘 솟구친다. 그러고는 미소 지은 채 그 자리에서 그대로 고꾸라지고.
I sober up. I spurt with an unknown strength. And just like that, with a smile on my face, I collapse.
하늘이 땅에 물을 주면 땅은 그걸 또 좋다고 다 받아 마신다.
If the sky waters the ground gratefully takes it and drinks it all up.
술 처먹고 노상방뇨하는 아저씨들의 물조차도 땅은 다 받아 마셔.
Even the water that comes from peeing old men after they drink, the ground takes it and drinks it up.
만취 상태에 드니 돼지가 울렁울렁. 돼지도 토하고 싶은 거겠지. 대기도 흔들린다. 때로는 대기도 확 다 토해내고 싶은 거겠지.
The earth gets drunk and woozy and nauseous, and the earth wants to puke. The atmosphere stumbles, and sometimes the atmosphere must want to vomit too.
술에 꼬라 더 이상 차도와 인도를 구분하지 못하는 분이시여.
Drunks can't tell the difference between the road and a sidewalk.
차도를 인도처럼 걸어다니며 온갖 차들로 하여금 너 힘을 비켜가게 하는 분이시여.
Drunks walk roads like sidewalks and say to the cars, "Get the hell out of my way."
다 토해내고 난 후에 밤이 좋다.
Nights where I puke everything up are good.
세상은 다리니 그 위에 집을 짓지 말라 따위의 문장들을 강물 위에 다리처럼 놓고는 그곳을 호련히 뜨자마자 하나둘 강물 속으로 뛰어들기 시작하는 단어들이 한없이 사랑스럽기만 한 밤.
An infinite lovely night where sentences like "The world is a bridge, don't build your house on it" are laid down like bridges, and one by one, as soon as the sentences are built into the river, the words start jumping in.
우울함이 다리 위에서 다리 아래를 바라보는 나를 보고는 못 본 채 그냥 지나가준다.
On nights when depression looks down at me from the bridge and passes by while pretending not to see me.
모든 것은 지나가. 이번만은 나도 널 그냥 지나가 주지.
On a night when everything goes by, on nights like this, even I will let you move on.
수십 번 돌려봐도 내 것이 되지 않던 필름처럼 삶이 내 것이 되지 않을 때 그날 봤던 강변의 대관람차를 떠올리며 생각한다. 아무렴 삶이 내 것은 아니지.
When this life isn't mine, like a film I've watched dozens of times isn't mine, I think about the Ferris wheel I saw along the river, how life for sure isn't mine.
돌고 도는 삶 위에 올라타 돌고 돌고 돌다 미쳐 내릴 생각을 못하고 그 아래 펼쳐지는 야경에 탄성이나 내뱉다 말한다.
You spin and ride the spinning wheel of life, and spin and spin and spin, never thinking about getting off, exclaiming, "This is the shit," while gazing at the night unfold beneath you. I say,
그러니까 그건 네 것도 아니다.
what I mean is, this life isn't yours either.
갈 때까지 갔다라는 말이 있던데 갈 때는 무궁하고.
There's a saying, once you go all the way, there's nowhere to go, but there are endless places to go.
겨우 제자리를 돌고 돈 주제에 갈 때까지 갔다라고 생각하는 바보 멍청이들이여. 삶을 좀 우습게 봐줄 줄 알아야 삶도 널 우습게 보지 않지 않겠어?
And for the dumbass brickheads that think you spin and spin around in the same place and everything ends revolving, if you can't laugh at life, don't you think life will laugh at you?
별짓 다 해봐야 한갓 인간에서 벗어날 수 없다.
No matter what you try, you can't escape from humanity.
과도한 오류와 확대 해석을 통해서만 간신히 신성에 도달하는 오늘은 정말이지 더 큰 사랑이 필요하다. 도저히 감당할 수 없는 감당하다 내가 죽어도 여한 없을 사랑이.
Only through excessive errors and bloated interpretations can we barely reach the Godhead that is today. So what we need is greater love, so big a love that it can't be handled, that my death would result from handling it, that I would regret it even if I died.
그럼 신성으로서도 영광이겠지.
So even that Godhead must be glory.
나 대신 여기서 더 멋지게 마지막을 장식해줄 지구 최고의 다이빙 선수가 필요하다.
Instead of me, in order to make the ending more decorative than the present, what I need is the best scuba diver in the world.
어머, 나 좀 취했나 봐.
Jesus, I must be drunk.
오죽하면 네가 그럴까.
I mean, how else could you get this way?
그날따라 우린 세상에서 우리가 못할 건 없을 것만 같았고.
On days like this, I think there isn't anything we couldn't do in the world.
차라리 모든 걸 잃고 싶다. 모든 걸 잃고 나면 사람은 바뀌기 싫어도 바뀌고.
Or rather, I want to lose everything. After losing everything, people change even though they don't want to.
정신이 송두리째 뿌리 뽑혀 생각지도 못한 생각에도 이르게 되고.
And the thoughts that come after their minds are uprooted, are the kind you never think will come and.
인생을 포기하자 갑자기 멋있어진 한 인간에게 어느 날 너는 한눈에 반하고.
The second someone gives up on life, they become the sexiest person alive. And at first sight, you fall in love.
그런 밤이면 좀 지나치다 싶을 만큼의 여백이 필요하다.
If it's that kind of night, you need enough white space to be as excessive as you want.
글자를 읽다 잠시 여백으로 새어나가 마냥 걷다 보면 누구도 방해하는 이 없어. 정말이지 이건 해도 너무한다 싶을 만큼의 고요 속에서 끝도 없이 홀로 거닐다 마침내 조용히 마음의 결정을 내릴 수 있다.
While reading words, while reading characters, if you trickle out a little into the white space and take a walk around, nobody will disturb you. Truthfully, this goes and goes and goes and in the silence that makes you think that this is too much, I will walk alone without end, so that I can quietly make up my mind.
네가 내 혈관 속에 흐를 수 있게 해줄게. 내가 네 혈관 속에 흐를 수 있게 해줄래?
I'll let you flow into my blood vessels, but will you let me flow into your blood vessels?
오죽하면 내가 이럴까?
How else could I get this way?
그런다고 죽는 일은 없겠지만 목숨을 다해서라는 기분으로.
Even though it's nothing to die over, with the feeling of putting my life on the line.
그래봤자 우리가 어제의 인간에서 한치라도 벗어날 가능성 따윈 아무래도 없다고 봐야겠지만.
Even though it seems that there's absolutely zero possibility that we can't overcome yesterday's humanity.
마침내 난 내 모든 걸 다 바쳤다라는 기분이 들 때쯤 원하든 원치 않든 다시 잔뜩 들어찬 글자들로 붐비는 아침은 올 것이고
When I feel like I can say, in the end I gave every fiber of my being. Whether you like it or not, morning will arrive again stuffed with words, crowded with characters.
너는 이윽고 제정신으로 돌아오고 말겠지만 그건 그때 가서 생각하고 어쨌거나 오늘은
In time, I'll come back to my senses. And I guess I'll think about all this again when the time comes. But anyway, today.
너의 엄청난 힘이 내 위에서 쓰러지는 게 나는 좋다.
I like it when you collapse on me with all of your strength.
Thank you.
Couple announcements to make before we split out of here. I'd like to apologize for the speaker pops this evening. I've been informed by the bar owner that it's the ghost of New Orleans poet Everett Maddox, who's slamming his beer down on the table every time he hears a good line of poetry. We have a poetics exorcist coming tomorrow at 10 a.m. to try and fix the problem. It should be okay by then. I would like to thank Jake Levine, my pal over here. This all started with a conversation at AWP a couple years ago in Seattle, and it culminated in this evening tonight. So thank you very much, Jake Levine, for running this whole thing through us. I would also like to remind you that this is a free festival. We're just a touch communist, so we need your communal support. There are t-shirts at the front door. You can also just make a donation if you don't want a t-shirt. Mine was a little tight, but there are many sizes over there. So please make a donation to help us out here or buy a t-shirt at the front door. There are 3 options for after parties this evening. The first option is that the Korean poets want to go to Cajuns for karaoke right down the street on St. Claude. So you're welcome to join for that. The second option is there is a reading hosted by Cameron Lovejoy, a wonderful local poet here, called Soft Clock. It is at kind of a speakeasy bar. It starts at 10 a.m. There is no name for this place where it's at. It's at 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
10 p.m.
Yeah.
10 p.m. Yes. 4011 St. Claude. There are some flyers in the bar over there. That's option number 2. There's 8 poets, and there'll be some ambient music going on with the poets as well. And there's one last option here. I pull it up on the email because I was just told about it. So Mad Hat Press and White Pine Press rented out the Artisan Cafe from 9 to 12 tonight. If you get there first, there's a couple of free drink tickets, and there's also some food there as well. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I hope to see all of you tomorrow at the festival starting at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We'll be back in here at 7 p.m. Sunday we'll be back here as well. Thank you all so much for coming. Have an excellent night. Buy some drinks. Party up. We got to be out here at 9